since the Jews have been formed as a people, we received the Torah in Mount Sinai. We've been given this land condition that we're going to keep all the commandments that's written in the Torah. We didn't obey God. Unfortunately, we were revolting against what the prophets, and even some of the prophets, unfortunately, we have killed. And we've been therefore, and sometimes we didn't behave ourselves according to the law that's written in the Torah, the commandments that God has gave us. So we've been expelled from the Holy Land. And since then we are under divine decree that God told us you have to wait in exile till the day that God will reveal his kingdom all over the world. And all the Jews, with non-Jews, Muslims and Christians, will come to Palestine and will worship one God. There'll be brotherhood all over the world. People would be busy not only to serve God, and the temple that we would just wait for it will come from the skies, from heaven. That's what we believe. Every non-Jews like you will come to sacrifice there and to serve God. Messiah will be Messiah for Jews and for non-Jews. We're not waiting to the day to step on the head of people. We're not waiting of the day that we're going to kill people like the Zionists are doing. We're not waiting to the day that we're going to conquer lands and create wars and steer problems between nations. The day that we're waiting for is that we should be able to serve God without any problems, and all the non-Jews that believes in God as you will join us. They will not be spectators. They will be part of the whole thing. That's it. So since we're in exile according to the divine decree, we're not allowed to have a state of our own, not in Africa, Europe, America, and of course not in Palestine, and of course not to kick out the indigenous, the original people who live there for almost 2,000 years, and that's the Palestinians. The Palestinians are very friendly, peaceful people. They lived with us for almost 2,000 years. Now, since God has expelled us from the Holy Land, we've been spread all over the world, and we were waiting where we were ordered by God to behave nicely to our neighbors, not to revolt against them, not to create a military or to revolt against them, to create a land with political power, body with a military power. That's all forbidden for us. How we behave to the non-Jews, with friendship, with subservience, with love, with mercy, with understanding and compassion and tolerance. That's how is our Shulchan Aruch, is the daily book, tell us how to behave to non-Jews, to give them charity, to help them when they need food, money, borrow money for them. If they're sick, we have to go to visit them to make sure that they have a proper doctor till they've been healed. And if, God forbid, they die, we have to help them to receive a respected burial. And that's how Jews lived with non-Jews all over the place. In Germany, Finland, America, Pakistan, Afghanistan, and of course in the glorious Arab empires, the Caliphate. In the Caliphate, we enjoyed from the Caliphate, it was enormous life to live among the Arab governments, because the Caliph loved very much, every Caliph used to love very much the Jews. He used to give high-ranking jobs for the Jews. He knew that the Jews are very, very professional in businesses and running governments. He gave us a lot of freedom of religion. He gave us even an autonomy. In Baghdad, Jews had a religious economical autonomy which was under the jurisdiction of the Caliphate. And that went for many, many hundreds of years. Relations between Jews and Muslims were excellent in Iran, in Iraq, in Afghanistan, in Pakistan, and in Palestine as well. If we take a look, for example, in Spain, Jews were for about 2,000 years. They've been expelled where they went to live in Spain. When the Muslims here came about 1,300 years ago, and they captured the Iberian half island, then the Jews have welcomed the Muslims. The Muslims understood that the Jews is a blessed people, and they should be part of the Caliphate of Bet Umayyah. As we know, the Caliph Abdul Rahman, the first that fled from Baghdad after the Abbasids has toppled the Caliphate from Bet Umayyah. He fled through Egypt, went the whole way to Spain, and over there he built his own Caliphate, Bet Umayyah Caliphate, very powerful Caliphate that was last about more than 500 years. So we call that time the golden era. It was one of the best times for Jews in the world. I'm not saying in Iraq Jews had a great time for hundreds of years. In Iran as well, people had under the governments, the kings of Iran. Many times they protected the Jews. They took them under their wings with their mercy. So Jews had a happy time, especially underneath the wings of Islam. So no one dreamed about the dream. No one was dreaming about taking Palestine back with power, with the military, and creating a land, a sovereign government that will be very aggressive to the people, because the Jews knew that the Muslims are good with us, they tolerate us, they have a sympathy for us. In many places that we've been deported, Muslims opened their gates. The Muslim countries, Algeria, Tunisia, Morocco, Libya, Egypt, and Palestine yet has opened the doors for the Jews many times. It's happened at the time of the Caliph Umar bin Khattab has freed Palestine from the Christians. It was a Christian sect that was called the Byzantine kingdom. He conquered Palestine from the Byzantines. But at that time of the Byzantines, for a few hundred years, Jews were not allowed to live in Palestine. And since he released Palestine, one of the first things he did, that he gave a fatwa, a religious verdict. Jews are allowed to come back to Palestine, to live there, to visit there, to build their own spiritual institutions. So we're very, very thankful for the Muslims for what they did to us in Palestine. Again, there was the Crusaders. They came, they killed all the Jews in Palestine, and they took over the regime in Palestine for about 88 years. And after 88 years, the king, the great Caliph Nasser al-Yusuf Nasser Salahuddin al-Ayyubi released, freed whole Palestine, and one of his first things was to give a fatwa that Jews are allowed to come back to Palestine, and that was great for us, and we're very thankful for that Caliph. The Mamlukis, the Seljukis were also friendly governments to the Jews. The Mamluks in Egypt, the Seljukis in Turkey were very Jewish friendly. So we never dreamed about going recapture, conquer Palestine or any other land in the world to create an entity, a powerful superpower state that will control the Middle East or making steer problem between nations. We never had that. We've been happy from what we received from God, protection, mercy, tolerance from Muslims, and that's kept for many, many times. The Jews under the Muslim countries were protected, as they paid the jizya. They paid the tax, which the Caliph Umar bin Khattab has set up. He set a system that Jews, in order to be protected and tolerated and have the mercy of the Islam religion, they must pay the jizya. The jizya was not as a part of taxation; it was like a part to show subservience, love, and loyalty to the Caliphate. Because the poor people who didn't have to pay because they didn't have food, they received food and tax credit from the Muslim Caliphate. It's something which is known. Muslim neighbors always treated with mercy their poor Jewish neighbors. My mother used to tell me that when she was a small child, the neighbors used to bring for them for Pesach a sheep, because they didn't have food. They were very poor. Many times the neighbors used to come to ship in vegetables and fruits, dates, and much more, because they knew that they're very poor. Charity by the Muslims was a part of their Muslim religion, to give charity, and it was not excluding Jews. Harun al-Rashid used to give charity for Jews. Salahuddin al-Ayyubi used to give charity, zakat for Jews. Many Muslim kingdoms in Persia, in Iran, they used to help the Jews, the poor Jews. There was a Nasser Shah about 200 years ago. He was very friendly for Jews and used to help a lot for Jews. And he was not the only one. There was many of them that lived peacefully. So there was no basically disputes on a full scale. Maybe it was a local problem between neighbors. That's a natural thing. I'm not saying that, but that's a natural thing that happens everywhere. Maybe sometimes you build a wall and your neighbor is not happy. That could be, that's happened many times. But a dispute between neighborhoods, between communities, that's never happened, because the Muslims knew that the Jews are peaceful people, they're very professional, and they're blessed people, and they should be part of the Muslim nation, and that's what happened. Now, Zionism is people that were left all the Torah. They were not committed to the Jewish daily, weekly, and monthly or yearly commitments. No commandments. They stopped believing in God. They stopped practicing Judaism. They stopped practicing Shabbos. No fasting in the first one day that we have to fast that God forgive us all our sins. Finished. They just cut them off from the Jewish people. It was a very small movement, but since they had some rich Jews that left the Judaism, so they started grow and grow and grow and grow. So they just said basically that the solution for every people, that they should have a land, military and government and language, that has to be adopted for the Jews as well. All the rabbis before the Second World War has fiercely fought against Zionism. They told them, we're not waiting all this time of exile to control people, to fight the nations, conquer Palestine or any other land. We wait that the Messiah will come and unite the whole world, and everyone would come to Palestine to serve God. That's what we're waiting for. We're not waiting for the day that we should step on the head of the people of other nations. No way. But the Zionists, yes, they did. They wanted to have their own army, their own language, government, and anyone who's going to resist them, they're going to fight them. Fine. So that was very small. It was about 130 years ago. They had the first Congress in Basel, which formed this movement. It was very small, but they grew and grew and grew. They even dragged to themselves even high-ranking judges in America, influential British Jewish that used to be Jews, but according to the Jewish law, they're not considered Jews. And they dragged to their movement powerful people in British and American, Netherlands, France, French government, and slowly the movement gained a lot of power and a lot of properties and a lot of money, which they needed to build themselves. Slowly they start settle, shipping in people like them, not religious people. Religious people were not interested to go to settle in Palestine in the way that Zionists did. The Turkish Caliphate used to welcome Jews that used to come to live in Palestine, to serve God, to enjoy the holiness of the land, and to sit and learn the Torah the whole day. It was about few thousand families like that, but not more. It was a small scale of neighborhoods, which the Turks and the Palestinians has tolerated. They welcomed them, but then in 1860 it has stopped. The Turkish government has put a ban on Jews that they cannot come to live anymore in Palestine. If they come, they can come only for 30 days, and they have to bring someone that take responsibility to send someone from Palestine, a Jew, that take on himself the responsibility to send back the Jew to Europe. And if not, he himself will be deported. What happened? What brought the change by the Turkish and by the Palestinian people here to change to be hostile to so-called Jews? Because they saw that the immigration of the world Zionist movement, that shipping people who don't keep any Torah, they understand that this immigration is a nationalist immigration that aimed to capture all Palestine for themselves. They sent about 60,000, 20 or 30,000 in 30 years. They sent about 30,000 Zionist settlers who settled in certain colonies, which they bought from naive Palestinians, sold them their land, and then the Turks said, that's not the Jews that we used to know. The Jews that we used to know were peaceful people that learned the Torah and has no any nationalist aspiration to conquer Palestine or to defy or to go with war or to conquer Palestine for themselves. These people are here for nationalist purposes? Conquer Palestine, create a government, and to kick out, yes, the Palestinian indigenous. The idea to kick out the Palestinians from Palestine was not born in 1948. It was born even by Herzl. Herzl, that was the founder of Zionism, have said we have to get rid of the Palestinians, to have our own great land alone for itself. Yeah. Ethnic cleansing was not born in 48. Ethnic cleansing was born at 50 years before that. Ethnic cleansing settled in Palestine by Zionist colonies started tens of years before the establishment of State of Israel. That's what I'm trying to tell you. World Zionism already sent thousands of settlers to build colonies as a preparation for the establishment of the Zionist entity. The Zionist entity didn't start just in 1948; it just came and conquered the land. They had to have on strategic places in all over Palestine settlements and colonies that was the foundation for the State of Israel. The Turks have realized that these guys are dangerous. These guys are not Jews according to the Jewish law, and these guys are not. They're not here to what? They're not here to live peacefully with the Palestinians and to obey the Turkish government. They're here to steer problems. They're here to defy, to conquer. They're here to create a powerful Zionist illegal regime. That's why they made a stop. They put a moratorium, a ban on Jewish immigration, and unfortunately, even Jews that had a pure religious purpose to come to Palestine, just to live there under their jurisdiction, under the government of Turkey, they were not allowed to come anymore, even though that they didn't have any national aspirations. They were punished mistakenly because of the Zionists, and that's until today we're suffering as what many people mistakenly targeting every Jew, thinking that he's a Zionist. That every Jew, even sometimes I walk in the street, people yell at me that I'm a Zionist, even though that I'm a pro-Palestinian activist. And many millions of Muslims know that I'm a peaceful person, and I stand up for the rights of the Palestinians, for the right of return, for the right of the establishment of Palestinian state from the river to the sea. But not everyone knows that, unfortunately. But let's get back to that. So we said that even before the establishment of State of Israel, the Zionists already started making lots of preparation for the establishment of their state. Even by the end of the First World War, there was a lot of military machines that was used to produce weapon and munition remained stuck in Europe and in America. The American army didn't need anymore these machines because there was no more war by the end of the First World War. The Zionists has bought these machines. They wrapped it in boxes and it was written that it's a sewing machine, and they shipped it to Palestine, and they started to produce munition, mortar shells, mortars, heavy machine guns, cannons for the future Zionist military that is on its way. The movement of the Zionism grew and grew with power especially in America. Unfortunately, the Zionist movement has made a deal with our beloved British government, which I'm proud to be a British, but unfortunately the power among the British government is enormous. They have the Zionist lobby here, just as they have the Zionist lobby AIPAC in America. They have the AIPAC here, and they can do with the British government almost whatever they want. They always trying to make laws which would benefit them and discriminate against the Palestinian people, unfortunately. And so that's how the Zionist movement started getting ready to kick out the British government that ruled for 30 years in Palestine. How it started, it was very interesting. In order to America, United States had a policy that they're neutral at the First World War. They didn't want to be involved to help France and Britain to fight Germany and to break their military power. So there was a deal between the Zionist world movement that if you give us Palestine, we're going to make sure that America will be involved in the war, they're going to win Germany, and you're going to give us Palestine. And that's how the sadness of the Balfour Declaration came out to the world, that in exchange of the Zionist world, in exchange of the Zionists will drag America, United States to the war, and in exchange that the Zionists will recruit about 10,000 or 20,000 Zionist settlers. They're going to recruit them to the British Army, to be the British what it's called, was the British Brigades, and it was the Zionist Jews that were recruited to the British Army. In exchange for these two things, the British government has promised a national home in Palestine. The promise of the British government for national home in Palestine was clearly what's been emphasized by James Balfour, the Secretary of Foreign Affairs of the British Kingdom. It was anyway, he emphasized that it will not be a Zionist national home in Palestine will not exclude and will not kick out through this deal that we're making, that we're going to give you a national home in Palestine, will not be on the head of the Palestinians, which is mean that it's not going to cause the ethnic cleansing of the Palestinian people. It has to be in consideration of the Palestinian people needs and the Palestinian peoples of the rights to live in all over Palestine. That was the promise of Lord Balfour. The Zionists were very happy with this declaration, but they were not completely happy. They were demanding more. They didn't just demand a national home in Palestine. They demanded was a whole Zionist state in Palestine. And that's how they started, terrorizing the British army in order to force the British to get out of Palestine. The Palestinians have saw the nationalist aspiration of the Zionists. They saw that the Zionists are here to deprive them for their property, from their possession, from their water wells, from their fields, from their farms. So they made a revolt in 29, and which the British army has broken this revolt. The revolt in 1936, there was a second the huge revolt of the Palestinian armed forces, and that's the British army as well. Again, has destroyed the military power of the Palestinians. So 12 years after, in 1948, the Palestinians, when the Zionists have established their army, they had about 90,000 soldiers. Stalin has ordered Czechoslovakia to give them all the arms which they have in their possession to the Zionist army. The deal between the Zionists and Stalin was that you give us the arms, and we're going to make sure that this state that we're going to create will be a socialist state, and it's going to be well connected to your government, to your way of life, which means that Stalin had an interest to catch as many more communist states in the world, lands in the world, and to turn them to be communist regimes. So the deal was: you give us the arms, you give us the support in the UN to create a Zionist state in Palestine. You're going to be one of your supporters. You're going to have in the Middle East a communist base that's called State of Israel. Unfortunately, yes, the powerful Zionist movement had a lot of money. They bought a lot of weapons. They were able, between the First World War and the Second World War, and even after the Second World War, till 1947, to bring about almost 600,000 people from Europe and from more countries in the world. That's how they created enough a colony, to say, we are people, 600,000 people, we have the right for our state. The Palestinians were about 1.8 million, and they were the majority. And the Palestinians says it's not true. The 500,000 which he brought, the 550,000 which he brought, they only came here for the last 20 years, and they're illegal immigrants, and they have to be sent back to Europe from where they came from. However, the Palestinians have lacked their military power, which was broken in 1936. The Zionists kept bringing arms and new immigrants, illegal new immigrants, which settled all over Palestine. They were able to buy from naive Arabs lands and farms and to build more settlement and more colonies and more colonies. The Great Britain didn't want to give them eventually this land because they knew that they will have to take a side. They will have a problem with the Arab side, so they remained neutral, but it was already too late. The Zionist movement were able to force through Russia and America to make a vote in 1947 about the partition plan. The partition plan was not born in 1947. It was born at 1935 through Lord Peel, which was a British lord. That he's the one that put the idea to divide Palestine of two parts. And the Zionists did many tricks. Through a lot of tricks, they received 55% of Palestine for 600,000 people, which most of them were illegal immigrants. And at the other side, 1.7 million Palestinians received only 45%, which when at the time, 45% of Palestine at the time that they were the majority of Palestine. And not only that, most of the water resources, the Zionists, through tricks, gained them by the partition plan. Most of the water resources were supposed to go to the 600,000, which most of them, again, were illegal settlers. And only 20% of the water resources remained by the Palestinians. Of course, the Palestinians did not agree with that, and they decided to revolt and not to accept the agreement. The Zionists had a plan A, B, C, D. The plan is to create a strong military, bring as many more settlers from Europe, and that's called Aliyah B'Choima. That's not allowed. We Jews not allowed to flood Palestine with hundreds of thousands of people. The immigration to Palestine has to be spiritual with permission of the people that live there, and that's the Palestinian. And if they don't give permission to come, so we're not allowed to come there. It's very important to emphasize the Palestinians knew to differentiate between the illegal settlers that came from Europe with a Zionist inspiration to conquer Palestine and the natural, historical indigenous, the Palestinian Jews, the Ashkenazi and Sephardi that used to live in Palestine with peace and harmony and with the excellent neighboring friendship relationship between them and the Palestinians. The Palestinians knew to draw a line. Even before we start talking to them, they knew that who are the real Jews that live here in Palestine just to enjoy the holiness of the land and to obey the law of the Turks and of the Palestinians, and not to defy them, and of course not to take what they possess, just to live peacefully with them. And then you about the new settlers that came to build colonies, settlements, army, and while the aim was to kick out all Palestinians from Palestine. They knew to differentiate between the real Jews, the religious Orthodox Jews that were under the leadership of Rabbi Joseph Chaim Sonnenfeld, and they knew that what those Zionists was settlers are here to stay, to conquer, to kick out, to misbehave themselves like animals. They knew that difference. This large difference was recognized by the Palestinians all the time. So where we hold him, we hold him by by almost towards we spoke about the partition plan, and the partition plan, as I said, through a lot of tricks and pressure and bribe, the partition plan was able to give most of Palestine, 55% for the Zionist movement, but in the time that the majority, the Palestinian people that welcomed the real Jews and had sympathy to them at a time that they had problems in other countries, they were suddenly being deprived from most of their land, from most of their water resources, most of the natural resources of Palestine, unfortunately. So they decided to revolt, but it was too late. Most of the land in 1948 was under the possession of the Palestinians. It's true that the Zionist movement bought a lot of land, a lot of piece of land, but it still was a very small part of the country. Still, 95% of Palestine was under what Arab Palestinians that lived there. The Palestinians that sold land for the Zionists was a very small amount. and it was sold for very high price because the Palestinian High Commissioner didn't allow for Palestinians to sell land for these Zionists. If I was like a Jew like me, would have come to Palestine 100 years ago, and they would have saw who I am, they would have happily sold me a house in Jerusalem even, because they knew that I'm not possessing any threat for them. It's about a Jew which is a pro-Palestinian, friendly, like a brother, feel like them. They all the time tell me that they will come back to free Palestine. They will take Jews, real Jews like us, without any problem, because they know that Jews like us are not pose any threat to their national home, national Palestinian home, or to their land, or to their farms. But the Zionists, they were already suspected by the Palestinians that they here to come the whole land, so they put a ban to sell them lands. But there was some Palestinians that sold them the land for a very high price. But still, almost 95% of Palestine was under the hands of Palestinians. Your question is that with this, that the Zionists bought land, pieces of land here in the south of Palestine, northern Palestine, central Palestine. They became the owner of the land, and they had the right to create a state. That's a false thing, because if I buy 5 houses here in the street, doesn't make me the King of England, doesn't make me the Prime Minister or the Foreign Minister of England. Same thing, if someone bought few houses or a farm in Palestine, doesn't make it doesn't make it the right, that doesn't give him the right to create a Zionist state there. And that's what they did. They used it as a trick. We bought land, we built colonies, so we have the right on this land. It's false. If you bought land, even with a lot of tricks, as I said, doesn't give you the right to create a state there on the head of the Palestinian people. That's a very important thing to say, that by possessing a piece of land in Palestine doesn't make us the boss of the land, and doesn't give us the right to possess the land, doesn't give us the right to control the land, or and of course not to kick out the Palestinian people that had the right of this land for many years. First of all, I'm proud to live here in England. I'm proud to be British. I obey the rules of the government. I'm happy to be a British citizen, and I'm happy to live in this great land of Great Britain. Second of all, I consider myself as a Palestinian Jew. I have nothing to do with Zionism. I don't recognize the right of the Zionists to control not even 1 inch in Palestine. There's hundreds of thousands of Jews in Palestine that will be happy that the land will go back to the Palestinians, because according to the Torah, we're not allowed to have a land in a time that we're in exile. And as I said, even when Messiah will come, doesn't mean that we're going to have a land between all lands. It's just Messiah will gather all the people to serve one God. That's the aim here. It's not the aim to have a land with a military. That's not for that we're waiting. I'm consider myself a proud to be Palestinian Jew. I'm loyal completely to the Palestinian agenda, and I stand up for the rights of the return, which is a basic right of the Palestinians. There's almost 1 million Palestinians were kicked out in 48. I forgot to say it. Yes, after the partition plan. The partition plan gave the Zionists the so-called right to create their own land in 55% of Palestine, but not to kick out the Palestinians. They kicked out the Palestinians from 900,000 Palestinians from places, even not only in the places that they had the right to control it according to the UN. They kicked them out from any place that they could have done. And after that, in 1967, they kicked out another 200,000 Palestinians from the West Bank to Jordan. So that we're talking about today about 7 million Palestinians that wait to come. They would like to come back to their farms, to their possessions, to their houses, and they have the whole right to that. That's the right of return backed by a United Nations Resolution Council number 194, that demand that all Palestinians should return back to Palestine, to their possession, to their property that was stolen from them. I'm proud to be Palestinian Jew, and I'm already more than 20 years not in Palestine, because I had a lot of persecuted by the people, Zionist neighbors, the Zionist police, They don't like that people criticize their actions against Judaism and their illegal actions against the Palestinians. So that's why there's no future for anti-Zionist Palestinian Jew in Palestine. That's why I came out. I never went back there. I would love to come back there with my Palestinian brothers when they're going to free Palestine. When Palestine will be free, we hope at a peaceful solution. As we saw many places, there was a peaceful end for all these disputes. Palestine will be free. Palestinians will establish their Palestinian state from the river to the sea. And every time when I speak to Palestinian friends, they tell me, you will be the first that we can take you on our shoulders to take you back to Palestine. Because they not only do not consider me enemy, they consider me as one of them. I said always, Palestinian people is not only Muslims. There's Christian Palestinians, there's Muslim Palestinians, and there's Jewish Palestinians. So there's one Palestinian flag from the river to the sea, a Palestinian government that we're going to tolerate and treat with respect, with harmony and tolerance, Muslims, Christians, and Jews. And that's the only solutions. Other solution will only bring more bloodshed, as we see that the Zionist regime, illegal regime, spill the blood. They're bloodthirsty. They're killing hundreds of thousands innocent Palestinians, men, women, babies, and girls, and old people without any mercy, because of the foreign powers are supported, because of their interest of selling weapons, their interest of the Christianity, the evangelists. They support very strong with the Zionist entity. They want all the Jews to come to Palestine, and then they think that they're going to turn the religion, change the religion from Judaism to Christianity. You must probably heard about it. You never heard about it. Okay, so there's such a thing that the Christians, the Protestants and the evangelicals, Christians, they think that you have to gather all the Jews in Palestine, give them a land, kick out all the Palestinians, and then there'll be a change of religion, God forbid. That's silly, that's stupid. We the Jews will never change our religion, but unfortunately, that silly thought by the Christians is one of the cause of the dispute today, that they're ready to support the Zionist regime with weapons, munition, money, political support by the UN in order to continue the conquest and the genocide and the ethnic cleansing in Palestine, in order to bring more Jews, many more Jews to Palestine according to their religion, that they're going to change their religion from Judaism to Christianity. Unfortunately, it's this thought are caused a lot of bloodshed, and we survived almost 2,000 years without a land. We've been welcomed by country. We were flourishing. We learned. We studied. We worked. We had a great times throughout history with the Muslims. We never thought that creating a land will help us to make it better. Why the Jews in Spain did not revolt against the Spanish Caliphate? Why not in Iraq? And why not in Algeria, Tunis, Morocco, and in Palestine? Why the Jews were always felt secure and happy by many states, and not only by Muslims, but even by some Christian states that were very friendly to them? Why the people never dreamed, never thought about, enough is enough, let's make a state of our own? Jews have to have their own understand. This bloodshed must be stopped, and it will be stopped, because a rebellion against God and against the Palestinians eventually will not succeed. Jews doesn't need and not allowed to have the state from their own. Jews are believed that we are in the hand of God. God is the one who take care of us, and He gave mercy in the hearts of all nations to have mercy on us and treat us fairly. We believe that sitting in exile underneath the wings of the nations are by obeying God, that's God's will, that save us. If we're going to revolt against the nations, the Torah said that rebellion against God's will not succeed. That's written in the Torah. And the Talmud says explicitly, clearly, if you're going to revolt against the non-Jews, you're going to create your own state, you're going to create your own military, you're going to be defeated. And the punishment will be terrible, like the same as we now see now. Is the Zionist state brought security for Jews? No. Of course not for the Jews in Palestine. The Jews in Palestine are being subjected to attacks, on the daily attacks. weekly attacks, monthly attacks. Why? Because the rebellion against God has no success. And many people in Palestine are really thinking about, you know what? Hundreds of thousands, as maybe it was a big mistake to have a state here. Zionism never brought any bless for Jews, only troubles, dead, about bloodshed, hatred from all the nations, because what they see, the people, what they see, that there's a so-called Jewish regime that conducting Holocaust in Gaza, and they make sure, this Zionists, that this Holocaust been conducted in the name, they say, we speak in the name of all Jewish people. So the Holocaust, what we're doing in Gaza, that's in the name of all Jewish people, and they know it's a lie. They know that many millions of Jews are opposing this genocide. But they're saying that in order to say that every Jew will be responsible to what we do. They gain, and you know what they gain? They gain as what the Jews in the diaspora, in England, in America, will not be able to live here anymore. Why? Because they will see that because the non-Jews will tell them, go away from here, you murderers. Where the Jews will go to Palestine. And then in Palestine, they will mobilize them to the military. One of the Zionists have benefit from anti-Semitism. They create anti-Semitism. There was in many Muslim countries, there was no such thing that called anti-Semitism. They tried to do their best to create hatred from the Muslim to Jews. That's what they work in the whole time. This genocide in Gaza is was made that there will be no way how to fix to live together, Jews and Muslims. But we said to them, we tell them, yeah, there's no way. Take a look in Iran, Tunisia, Morocco. Tens of thousands of Jews live with harmony, with brotherhood with Muslims. It shows you that we don't need a state. A state only causes so many problems and hatred between Jews and Muslims. We had such a great time for 1,400 years. Why it should not continue like that? Harmony and brotherhood and coexistence. We were flourishing together. Why suddenly I should come and take a military to kill million Palestinians in Gaza? That will give me safety, security, prosperity. That brings only what death and hatred for all the Jews. And that's what the Zionist says. What we do, every baby that we kill is in the name of every Jew in the world. And that has to be clear. You have to draw a line that the Jewish Orthodox Jews, anti-Zionists, which you have hundreds of thousands of them all over the world, are resisting the existence of the state of Israel. They're rejecting the legality of the state of Israel in Palestine. It's an illegal entity. It has no right to exist, and it has no right of self-defense, and it has no right to speak in the name of Jewish people. And all what they're doing, it's not in our name. It's not only that they bother me, it's not in my name. It's not only that. It's bother me that they're killing innocent Palestinians. The Torah says, you have to love even the non-Jew. You have to have a mercy on him. And of course not to starve him and to kill him with lack of medicines. Of course not to let him to die with thirsty, like what they're doing now in Gaza. And of course not to let them die with thousands of bombs that have been daily dropped on them. Why? Because they receive it, unfortunately, from America, because the American, the Zionist lobby control the Senate and the Congress and the President over there, unfortunately. That brings a bless for the Jews. We Jews survived for almost 2,000 years without a state. Now you come and tell me that we need a state to protect ourselves. Take a look what type of problems they make from the Jews. What type of hatred they bring on all the Jews in the world, because they speak the Holocaust that they're doing, the illegal occupation, the ethnic cleansing, all the brutality that they're conducting against the Palestinians been done in my name. So it's endangering not only me, it's endangering another 13 million Jews that lives in all over the world. And people start to wake up. Even non-religious Jews, I wake up and see what type of hatred, what they bring the Zionist regime with the illegal occupation of Palestine, with the Holocaust that they're doing, with ethnic cleansing. It's time to tell to the world, we the Jews, not only that we're not interested in a state, we're not allowed to have a state, and of course not on the head of the Palestinian people. The whole land has to be given back for the Palestinians. We have to condemn and cry out and fight this genocide, this Holocaust, this ethnic cleansing. Yes, all the Palestinians have to get back to their own land. They have the right for self-determination, and that is our way of to be saved. When all Palestinians and the Muslim nation will see that we are peaceful people and we're not interested to grab from them even 1 inch, then they will remove all the suspicions that they have on us, that we will try to create dispute between people, between nations, try to grab natural resources, try to create wars between people, try to grab their lands. When they'll see that hundreds of many people, many Jews are anti-Zionist, anti-occupation, anti-ethnic cleansing, anti-genocide, and that's everyone. When you talk to me, you can see that I have it in my heart. I'm not just anti-genocide because I'm scared to go in the street. It's painful to me. I can't sleep at night when I see that such a vicious, fascist actions be done, racist genocide being conducted against peaceful people that never did anything bad to Palestine, to Jews. We don't need a state. We're not allowed to have a state, and this state only brought terrible things for the Jewish people. It's going to be dismantled. It's going to begin back to the Palestinians. That's going to bring peace for Muslims and for Jews, inshallah.